Hello and welcome to our newscast. I'm Daniel Chen. Let's begin with our top story. Amid mounting fears of a global economic recession, South Korea's Kospi dipped to the lowest in 20 months. The local currency slid down against a greenback in levels not seen in over a decade. Inflationary pressure is rising, the possibility of a big step by the central bank as well. Lee Kyung-eun starts us off.
South Korean stocks dipped to their lowest in 20 months on Wednesday over fears of a global economic recession. The Kospi index fell by 2.13%, coming below the 2,300 mark for the first time since last October. Foreigners and institutions led the fall, unloading more than $720 million. Fueling the foreign selling was the dipping value of the Korean won. The local currency sank to its weakest level against the US dollar in 13 years, as low as 1,311 per dollar at one point. This comes amid downbeat data from Europe, with the euro hitting its weakest point against the US dollar in nearly 2 decades. There was also tumbling oil prices led by fears of a global recession. As a result, the country's top refiner, SK Innovation, slumped more than 5%. Amid the weakening won and rising inflation, an economist at S&P Global Ratings projected a big step by South Korea's central bank, raising its key interest rate by 0.5 percentage points in the upcoming policy meeting next week, and a combined 0.75 percentage point to as high as 2.5%. The economists attributed consumer prices jumping 6% on-year in June as a factor, the fastest rise in nearly 24 years. However, the global ratings agency said that Korea's economic growth rate will not be a concern, projecting Asia's fourth largest economy to expand by 2.6% this year. Yoon, Arirang News.
A meeting of top officials from the government and the ruling party was held. At the first such session since the launch of the Yoon administration, the need to work as one team was emphasized, not to mention specific policies to protect people's livelihoods. Kim Bo-kyung brings the highlights from the meeting.
Tackling the main issues that are making it hard for people to have a secure livelihood. That's mainly what was discussed at Wednesday's meeting between senior officials from the People Power Party and the government. It was the very first time that senior policymakers met since the Yoon Suk-yeol administration's inauguration in May. Present were People Power Party Chairman Lee Jun-seok and floor leader Kwon Sung-dong, as well as Prime Minister Han Duck-soo and Presidential Chief of Staff Kim Dae-gi. The participants all agreed that the utmost priority was to stabilize people's livelihoods, which have been affected by high inflation and soaring energy prices.
If people don't have a secure livelihood, the national economy could be at risk of collapse. With sincere awareness of the crisis and by being alert, we need to be able to offer support.
To do that, officials have agreed on a number of areas of importance, including promptly enforcing measures aimed at containing soaring energy and food prices, promptly executing a second supplementary budget, and coming up with preemptive measures in August ahead of the Chuseok holiday.
We are enacting a secondary supplementary budget, including support for socially vulnerable groups. Adding on to that, using all the methods we can, such as giving out emergency relief funds, we will do our best to stabilize their livelihoods and reduce the burden of living costs.
To effectively establish and enforce such policies, both the ruling party and government officials agreed to closely cooperate with each other.
When pushing through such economic policies, communication with the National Assembly is important, and cooperation with our party beforehand is desperately needed. From now on, we will have more meetings like this to take care of the country's affairs smoothly.
Meanwhile, the name has changed into Meeting Between Party and Government, omitting the presidential office, as President Yoon Suk-yeol underscored how government and the presidential office are one body. Promising more communication, now both party and the government aim to show unity to tackle crucial issues. Kim Bo-kyung, Arirang News.
President Yoon Suk-yeol ordered the military to sternly respond to any North Korean provocations. This came at the Commander-in-Chief's maiden meeting with top military leaders. Kim Dae-hyun shares with us his remarks.
Prompt and stern retaliation in case of any North Korean provocation. That's South Korean Commander-in-Chief Yoon as he presided over his first meeting with the nation's top military commanders on Wednesday.
국민의 안전과 재산, 영토와 주권을 지킨다는 것은 군의 기본적인 사명입니다. 안보는 결코 타협할 수 없다는 의지를 단호하게 보여주어야 합니다.
Calling for strong capabilities to deter North Korea's nuclear and missile programs, his message carries extra weight as it comes amid concerns the North could conduct its first nuclear test in 5 years. At the top brass meeting chaired by the president for the very first time at the Gaeongdae military headquarters, roughly 160 kilometers south of Seoul, they discussed Seoul's push to launch a strategic command as an overarching organ to implement its three-axis defense system aimed at countering North Korea's evolving nuclear and missile threats.
그리고 우리 군 독자적으로 한국형 삼축 체제를 구축하여 북한 핵 미사일 위협을 압도할 수 있는 능력과 태세를 갖추어 나가야 합니다.
The three-axis system refers to the Korean Massive Punishment and Retaliation, an operational plan to incapacitate the North Korean leadership in a major conflict, the Kill Chain Preemptive Strike Platform, and the Korea Air and Missile Defense System. In addition, the new commander-in-chief urged his top commanders to focus on expediting the rollout of AI-based defense systems incorporating both unmanned and manned military equipment. But above all, President Yoon reiterated his commitment to provide all the support he can to establish a defense posture in which the South Korean military can fight and win. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News.
The IAEA chief feared North Korea could conduct a nuclear test soon. However, experts here in the nation believe that may not be the case as the regime is still calculating a number of factors. Han Sung-woo provides a deeper analysis.
According to the head of the International Atomic Energy Agency, North Korea is now ready to conduct its 7th nuclear test at a time of its choosing. In a lecture Tuesday at Australian National University in Canberra, Director General Raphael Grossi lamented how the regime has grown into the nuclear threat it is today, despite not possessing weapons until 2006. And he called that fact a big collective failure.
Despite international efforts to denuclearize North Korea, Pyongyang's nuclear capabilities and missile threats have only escalated. I think he's criticizing the world's North Korea policies of the past.
Citing satellite imagery, Grossi said a nuclear test could happen any day, but stressed that the IAEA is keeping a close watch on the regime from outside its borders. South Korean analysts, however, don't predict a nuclear test until Pyongyang has a better idea of what it stands to gain and lose from it.
Even if the North waits until the monsoon's over, will it be able to conduct the test in September or October? Well, Pyongyang will have to consider how China will respond. China is getting ready to hold its National Congress in November, a massive event extremely important to Xi Jinping. So it won't be easy for North Korea, a neighboring country, to do it then.
North Korea doesn't have much to gain from a nuclear test in the current circumstances. Due to the North's recent missile provocations, the United States has reinforced its military presence around the Korean peninsula. South Korea, the US, and Japan are strengthening their trilateral relations as well.
Taking into account the fact, as Director General Grossi noted, that the IAEA's not been in North Korea for the last 13 years, both experts say there's not much the IAEA or other international organizations can do. Still, Director Hong Min of the North Korea Research Division at the Korea Institute for National Unification says future denuclearization strategies need to give assurances of mutual security to both North Korea and the international community. Han Sung-woo, Arirang News.
Yoon has become the first person of Korean descent to win the world's most prestigious award for young mathematicians, the Fields Medal. The Princeton University professor spoke to reporters in Seoul via video from Helsinki. Shin Se-byuk zooms in on his story.
For the first time in history, a mathematician of Korean descent has received the prestigious Fields Medal. After being born in the U.S., growing up and studying in Korea, 39-year-old Joon was named as one of the 4 recipients of the 2022 Fields Medal that is often called the Nobel Prize in Mathematics. The award goes to mathematicians under the age of 40 who have made significant contributions to the field. He was honored for his studies in the field of combinatorial algebraic geometry and successfully proving Rota's conjecture and Reed's conjecture. His work relates to an area of math that figures out the number of ways things can be shuffled and can be applied in many areas, including semiconductor design and machine learning. A video conference was held in Seoul on Wednesday, where he detailed the story of his life leading up to receiving the Fields Award.
I only spend 4 hours a day doing research. The rest, I spend time with my family taking care of my kids, doing household chores. That's how I refresh myself. And then the next day, the same again.
Noting there are a lot of promising mathematicians in South Korea, he said it is important to create an environment which is conducive to research on the science of abstract objects that rely on logic, rather than on observation as a standard of truth.
I hope there will be an atmosphere where they can relax and stably pursue long-term projects instead of feeling pressure to come up with findings in the short term.
Joon is slated to arrive in Korea this Friday and will stay at the Korea Institute for Advanced Study for the rest of the summer. Shin Se-byuk, Arirang News.
Well, the stuff with cash seems to be a thing of the past, as there are many other convenient options from cards to smartphones. But this trend has gotten to the point where groups that are used to cash, like senior citizens, are inconvenienced. Irian sheds light on this phenomenon.
The prospect of a completely cashless society is becoming increasingly more likely. Transactions between companies are becoming less dependent on cash, and this is also evident in people's daily spending habits.
I think cash is inconvenient in the way that people have to withdraw it from the ATM all the time. That's why I prefer using a card.
Cards are easier to carry than cash. I have less than $1 on me.
Well, I think I have around $15 in my wallet now.
As you can see, people these days carry very little cash. And let me show you just how cashless modern society is. Vendors in local markets used to accept cash only, but now they accept credit cards too. 혹시 카드 결제 되나요?
네, 카드 결제 됩니다.
Vending machines used to accept coins only, but now there's a card reader so that people can pay with their credit cards as well. A report released by the Bank of Korea shows that the average amount of cash carried by people in 2021 was a little over 80,000 Korean won, or around $63. It also says that average monthly cash payments by households stood at nearly $392 in 2021. That's down 25.4% from 2018. And cash is now used for 21.6% of household payments, which is half of the payments made by card. According to a BOK official, developments in technology have contributed greatly to a reduced dependency on cash.
People these days use bank transfers and credit cards more than cash. Online shopping transactions, for example, are increasing by over 20% every year. And COVID-19 has accelerated this as people started to prefer non-in-person transactions.
But some say this may cause problems for the elderly. One survey in May showed that almost all people in their 40s who were asked had used a credit card that month, compared to a little over half of people in their 70s. To deal with the issue, the official says they are aiming to provide a cash-friendly environment for everyone.
Last year, the Bank of Korea launched an app that shows nearby ATMs and transfer fees for each machine. This is to make cash more accessible. The Bank of Korea and other financial institutions are cooperating to help cash users who wish to continue using it.
He added that as more people use cards and digital methods of payment, government measures will be needed if the right to pay in cash is not guaranteed in society. Lee Dae-hyun, Arirang News.
More than 40 Korean cultural assets retrieved from various parts of the world have returned home. They will be displayed at a special exhibition of the National Palace Museum of Korea under the title The Journey of Cultural Heritage Outside the Country. Among the items are 3 pieces unveiled for the first time after being recently recovered from Japan and the U.S. A decorated wooden box and a compilation of handwritings by kings of the Joseon dynasty. The exhibition runs from Thursday to September 25th. To mark 60 years of friendly ties with 15 Latin American countries, President Yoon thanked them for being traditional allies of South Korea. He also asked for their support so that Busan can host the 2030 World Expo. Yoon met with the ministers and vice ministers from 10 Latin American countries, including Honduras, Costa Rica, Guatemala, and Brazil. He assured them that by hosting the world event in Busan, South Korea is ready to share the country's knowledge and experience in development and working to tackle global challenges such as climate change. The ministers further voiced hopes of stepping up cooperation and said the South Korean port city is the right candidate to host the event. At the UN High-Level Political Forum for Sustainable Development, K-pop group aespa called for action on setting necessary goals. During the forum's opening session, one of the members, Giselle, explained the team includes 4 avatar members that exist in a virtual world. She stressed the importance of preserving the so-called our own reality. The singer highlighted that future generations must support sustainable development goals in order to protect the planet. After the speech, aespa performed its single Next Level. The band is scheduled to release its second EP called Girls on Friday. On some nights, the mercury stayed above 25 degrees Celsius here in the nation. This is driving people to head to the city's many streams to cool down or movie theaters. Yishu went to check them out.
Dipping their feet in the water and taking a stroll along the stream. On Tuesday night at Cheonggyecheon Stream in central Seoul, people gathered to beat the heat.
The water is really cool and it makes me feel like I'm by the river in the countryside. It's great.
Despite the coolness of the water, however, the night was hot and humid at nearly 30 degrees Celsius.
It's already past 9:30 and the temperature is just not going down. In fact, it's still 29.8 degrees Celsius out here right now and the humidity is at 61%.
Nevertheless, people enjoyed their time by the stream with their friends and family.
At the moment we touch our feet on the water, just like everyone that came out here, we instantly feel the cool of the water and it's a good relief for a hot day that we had today.
Movie theaters also provided some relief from the heat. Despite being a weekday, theaters were crowded with people who were out enjoying late-night movies. Seats were sold out and there were lines of people waiting to get food.
Yeah, and it's so humid and so we don't really want to stay outside, so cinema is perfect, dark, cool temperature.
Meanwhile, a heat wave warning has been issued for most parts of the country as highs surpassed 30 degrees Celsius. And as of 5 a.m. Wednesday, the temperature in Seoul was 27 degrees Celsius. It was another tropical night as it didn't fall below 25 degrees. This year, South Korea saw tropical nights earlier than normal. Experts say it's due to the seasonal rain front and clouds trapping the heat below.
Our skies were cloudy. There was heat and vapor during the day and during the night. The clouds did not let the temperature cool down. That's why we saw the tropical nights earlier.
On Wednesday, South Korea will see highs of between 27 and 34.6 degrees Celsius, but temperatures will feel hotter than the actual readings. Tropical nights will continue in many regions. To avoid heat stroke, the Korea Meteorological Administration recommends that people refrain from strenuous outdoor exercise during the day and night and take enough breaks when working outside during the hottest hours. Lee Si-hoo, Arirang News.
With temperatures rising, heat wave alerts were issued across South Korea. As most distancing measures are lifted, thankfully various summer festivals are making a comeback. Song Yoo-jin takes us to one of the biggest such events held so far.
Daegu. It's one of the hottest places in South Korea during the summer. The city even has the nickname Teprika, which compares its scorching summer to Africa. And to beat the heat, people are gathering at Turyu Park for the 2022 Daegu Chimac Festival.
It's a little less than 35 degrees Celsius in Daegu, but this scorching weather won't stop people from enjoying fried chicken and beer here at the 2022 Daegu Chimac Festival. Cheers!
But why the city of Daegu in particular? It's where the Korean fried chicken industry first started after the Korean War and where well-renowned chicken franchises opened their first shops. It's the first time in 3 years for the festival to be held after being canceled last year and the year before due to the pandemic. Before, around 1 million people visited every year. Although it was the first day, the opening ceremony was filled with people. Businesses as well as visitors from all around the world have welcomed the return.
Businesses were really hit hard during the pandemic. It's great that stores like us can reach customers here at this festival.
We both live in Daegu and we came here to enjoy fried chicken and beer because we just turned 20 years old, which means that we're now allowed to drink.
I feel like this Chimac culture is like, so far I only know this exists in Korea, so not only like the taste, it can also be an experience for a foreigner to try like the Chimac culture.
To celebrate its 10th anniversary, there are a variety of exciting, meaningful activities. There'll be hip-hop performances every evening featuring popular Korean artists. And people can enjoy fried chicken and craft beer while dipping their toes in ice water. There's also a Chimac booth that resembles a 포장마차, the traditional Korean street food restaurant. Also, to help emerging local chicken brands, 2 that have been selected are opening booths near the main stage. For the sake of the environment, all disposable cups used at the festival will be made from biodegradable cornstarch. But the best part is that entrance is free. The festival runs for 5 days from Wednesday to Sunday. 송유진, Arirang News, Daegu.
Airport bus services in Seoul were virtually shut down in the pandemic. With the distancing measures lifted, passengers have gone way up. The figures in the capital rose to 57,000, up 2.7 times compared to January. Ridership is also up in Seoul's international taxis for foreign tourists, about 1,300 in April to about 2,000 in May and June. Before April, international taxis had been repurposed to pick up travelers at the airport during the pandemic to take them straight to self-isolation. There'll be more airport buses and international taxis on the roads as tourist numbers spike.
With nationwide showers in the forecast tomorrow, the intense heat wave will ease off for most regions. Daytime highs in Seoul will be dropping to 31 degrees, but for southern parts of the country, temperatures will keep rising until Friday. Baking hot conditions are expected for Daegu, with maximum temperatures hiking up to 34 degrees. As rain clouds will be coming in from the north of the peninsula, showers will be heavily concentrated across central regions. Northern central regions will see the most amount of rainfall with up to 150 millimeters. The rest of the Seoul metropolitan area and the surrounding regions can expect about 100 millimeters. Southern parts of the country will see relatively less showers with 10 to 60 millimeters in the forecast. Morning lows in Seoul and Jeju will be kicking off at 27 degrees. As for the daily highs, Seoul and Busan will get up to 31 degrees. Daegu and Gyeongju will be hot at 34 degrees. Partly cloudy skies are in the forecast for this weekend. For early next week, another monsoonal rain front will enter the country. That's all for now, and here are the weather conditions around the world.
And that's all from us. As always, thank you for watching.